Welcome and thank you for coming from your house to our courthouse. I'm Farley Toothman, President Judge of the court, and I do welcome you to courtroom number 1. I welcome you particularly to this as a town hall meeting on drug and alcohol addiction, and I am so proud of the community I represent. I appreciate you coming to help consider how we can take back our county, our friends, our families, and our neighborhoods. For 165 years, this courtroom has been opened by the graceful 3 taps of a gavel to hear evidence only in the most important issues of the day. If they could, these walls would speak volumes about the trials and tribulations considered by the judges as they are pictured in this historic hall. Judges who are pictured and asked to sit in judgment. And though this old building may be bent in places, the character of the people who serve here is strong. And as we gather on a beautiful fall evening, we should not help but feel that in greeting one another as we have, we come together as a community dedicated to a better tomorrow, not as a given and not as a birthright, and sometimes against what are insurmountable odds. But tonight we come together because we have to. And by facing the facts that we must face and coming together here tonight, Greene County has already become a better place to live and a better place to work. And we each have become stronger in our commitment by recognizing the number of people who are here and who really care. It gives us all hope, doesn't it? And I affirm to you that there is potential and promise in a community that is engaged and responsible. With addiction, where there is honesty in the community, there can be honesty from an individual. And then, only then, can there be hope for us all. Tennyson wrote, "I am all that I have met." John Wesley said it a different way, "But by the grace of God, there I go." Tonight we will hear evidence that confronts us uncomfortably, but it will confirm that drug addiction is Greene County, too, also Greene County's public enemy number 1. And only by unifying our mission can a meaningful strategy emerge and be revealed to us with regard to prevention. With prevention, it's an ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. Number 2, enforcement and recovery. A strategy has got to be revealed because you can't just do it from the big seat at the bench. A strategy must be revealed for prevention. Prevention of the first stamp bag of heroin. Whether you believe drug addiction is a choice or a disease, don't we know that it is rooted in the canals of neglect? Physical neglect, mental neglect, emotional neglect, and spiritual neglect. Where there is drug addiction, there is trauma. A strategy must be revealed in enforcement. Enforcement of our laws and the enforcement of our known and confirmed therapies. Okay, then, if you do the crime, you got to do the time. But at some point, when you've paid your incarceration dues, something has had to have changed in your behavior for you re-enter from jail into the same community and the same circumstance that you left. Some say, throw away the key. Jail is therapy, and for many it is. And my most heartbreaking moments are when I run into parents who say, put my kid in jail, I fear for their life at this point. Others say that the only thing we've arrested when we do so is the defendant's recovery and rehabilitation. In that big seat, you begin to feel so very small. And the police, I think, will tell you tonight that we can't arrest ourselves out of the drug addiction problem. As we rally around the flag tonight, let's be looking for a strategy to be revealed tonight, that the precious lives that have already been lost in our family, friends, and community, the households that are destroyed that we see in our family court with not just divorce, but dependency, delinquency, due to drug addiction, will be honored in a way that saves the next life of the party. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Enough is enough. Let's get saved or get arrested. Thank you all for coming, and I now wish to present a beautiful choir.
Good evening. My name is Steve Barrett. I am the managing editor for the Greene County Messenger, and it is an honor and privilege for me to be here this evening for this very important cause. As Judge Toothman mentioned previously, we have many guest speakers tonight who all have some very just strong information and a lot of information that will be very important and vital for everyone here this evening. At this time, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for this evening. Rebecca Terry is representing the Honorable Gary Tennis, who's the Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs. Rebecca.
Well, it's unfortunate that Secretary Tennis couldn't be here this evening. I feel honored to be able to share his words with you. Our nation is experiencing the worst epidemic of fatal drug overdoses in recorded history. Thank you for being here today. I'm sorry that the budget impasse and resulting travel ban have kept me from being with you today in person, but I am with you in heart and soul in our mutual quest to save lives and get more people into recovery. As a state and as a nation, we are vulnerable to such rolling drug epidemics because drug and alcohol addiction is a disease, the only disease for which our society does not allocate resources to provide sufficient treatment. Due to the stigma around addiction, current resources devoted to treatment are sufficient to treat only 1 American for every 10 suffering with addiction. Pennsylvania does a little better due to strong insurance laws, providing sufficient resources to treat 1 in every 8 Pennsylvanians who need it. Governor Wolf's proposed budget would reverse the steady cuts to drug and alcohol treatment for the first time in many years. The 1 in 4 families struggling with substance abuse suffers terribly for this cruel policy failure. All Pennsylvanians bear this financial burden. Untreated or undertreated addiction drives 80% of crime, fuels a large percentage of domestic violence, child abuse, and neglect, causes tremendous workplace losses, makes our highway unsafe from drug drivers, and leads to devastating and costly secondary diseases. Our national failure to provide adequate resources to address this disease is as irrational as it is inhumane. Treatment provided with clinical integrity, with the right level of care and long enough duration is effective. I want to work together with you to bring our nation out of the dark ages of stigma, undertreatment, incarceration, and unnecessary deaths of those suffering with the disease of addiction. Let's work together to bring all of our communities into a new age where everyone suffering with this disease gets the help they need to live rich, wonderful lives of recovery. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're going to have several panelists who are going to be speaking. Introducing first Mr. Craig Wise. He's the Director of the Greene County Probation and Parole.
Can you hear? Now, yes, as he said, my name is Craig Wise. I'm the Director of Greene County Adult Probation and Parole and Greene County Juvenile Probation. I've been involved with probation since 1981. Yes, I know, I started when I was 12. When I first started in the early 80s, that was the first time actually, that I saw a heroin problem. And it was a relatively confined problem at that time. And one of the reasons is that back then, there were two things. One, heroin was much weaker than it is now. So people that used heroin didn't start using it by snorting it or by getting other pills because they really didn't have a lot of availability of other pills. There's been so many new drugs, opiates that have come onto the market that people can use. The actual fact that people could put a needle in their arm was a natural deterrent to it. Starting about, through that period of time, that died out after a couple of years, and for the first 20 years that I was in probation, really most of what we saw were alcohol, and alcohol still remains a huge problem for many people, and it is just as devastating a drug for many families as heroin is, and violence that you see associated with it. And then in the mid-'80s, we started to see some cocaine use. We never equaled what you saw in the inner city, but we did see a cocaine problem. But I never got urine tests back for opiates. Starting about 2005, we started to see an uptick in opiates usage in our plants. And by 2010, pretty much nowadays, if I get a urine and they're only positive for marijuana, it's like, congratulations, you're drug-free. And I say that facetiously, but that is how common it is for us to see opiates. It has changed the nature of the work that we do. It is a much more dangerous job, and it's a much more time-consuming job because we're dealing with people that have very, very serious addiction problems. Addiction problems that not only affect the offender, but affect their families, affect their friends, and affect their lives going forward. You know, oftentimes they're not very productive people. Something else I think that people need to realize, because sometimes they look at the court's going to be the entity that solves this problem. We are a part of that solution. But one thing that people have to remember is, most people, the majority of people that have drug and alcohol problems don't get arrested. They are law-abiding citizens by and large, in the sense that they will never be caught for any criminal activity. So, you know, a lot of the people that are out there that are suffering from these problems, the court's not going to be able to help them. I could talk a lot about what we basically do in probation, but just let me sum up what I think the main thing is we provide supervision for offenders that are on probation. 90% of the people that I deal with have a drug or alcohol problem or a mental health problem. I mean, it's very rare for me to have people that just come in and commit criminal offenses because they're bad people. And our job is to enforce orders, and more and more we try and steer people into treatment, into therapy, into programs that can help them learn the tools that they need to manage their lives. Parents, family members, addicts, alcoholics often ask me, what can I do? What is the solution to this? And it's as if I had some kind of recipe that I could say, if you do X, Y, and Z, everything will be fine. That is not the case. You know, what I tell people is, if you're going to get into recovery, it's going to be one of the hardest things you ever do. And it's going to be primarily for the rest of your life. It's not easy. So many people I have come in, I call it recovery crack. They think that there's some kind of thing that they can smoke or some kind of pill that I can give them and all their problems will be solved. I get people that tell me, I want to go to rehab and get this finished and over with. And when I hear that, it's like, you're probably not going to get much out of rehab. You know, treatment is basically getting insight into the problems that you have. You know, if you go to treatment and you're in a group and you stare at your shoes, you're going to learn what your shoes look like. You've got to engage this. You know, the thing about this is, it is an incredibly complicated problem that seemingly has simple solutions, but those simple solutions are infinitely complex. I want to just sort of end the little section of time that I have. I want to just give you a demonstration. I do this for my DUI classes that I teach. But what I sort of see, when people ask me, what can you do? People need to be open to letting other folks in their lives. They have to surround themselves with the people and the supports that lift them up and enable them to go forward. Sometimes 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And so I volunteered 3 members from my staff, if they would come up here. I just want to very briefly, this is what I sort of illustrate as being therapy. People can't do this on their own. I've known a few people, I often say in my classes, I've known people that woke up one day and said, I'm not using drugs, I'm not using alcohol, and they never did again. And I probably know out of the thousands of people that I've worked with, 3 or 4 or 5 that were able to do that. Most people can't. So this is Jason, Luke, and Dave. They work in my office. I volunteered with Jason. What I want you to do is, he doesn't know what I'm going to do actually. I just want you to pace back and forth while I talk. Because pretty much all I ever do is talk, right? So just pace. So we're going to pretend that he suffers, he's an addict. And he suffers from a drug problem, or maybe it's alcohol. And he decides that he is going to quit on his own. And what you see here is his walk of sobriety. And you know, he's doing pretty good. But the thing about addiction is, it's patient. It has nothing but time on its hands. And so it will wait for the Pirates to lose, for the cable to go out, or the dog to die, or the utilities to get turned off, or maybe you get a new job and have a lot more money, but eventually it will reach out and pull him back in. This is what communities and this is what getting help does for somebody. So he decides this time he's going to quit. But instead of doing that, let's say he joined AA. And you two guys are basically to walk with him this time. And your job is to keep me from getting it. And I need to say something very important. We are acting. So now when he does this walk, you know, he's not by himself. He has those supports. And if I want to get to him, I've got to get through these guys. Hey, give them a hand. Very simple. But thank you very much. That may seem very simple, but that's in fact what all of you are doing here tonight. You are willing to be those people that walk in our community to help all of us that struggle with these kinds of problems. So I appreciate you being here. That's just a little bit of what we do in probation, and thank you.
All right, our next panelist is Sergeant Stephen Dowland, Pennsylvania State Police, Waynesburg Barracks.
First, I'd like to thank everybody, Judge Dukeman, for having me here, and thank you all for coming out. If you don't know who I am, my name is Steve Dowland. Just to give you a little background on myself, I was born and raised here in Greene County. I graduated from Waynesburg Central High School. After high school, I attended California University of Pennsylvania, where I obtained my bachelor's degree. Since then, I've accumulated about a little over 19 years of law enforcement experience, which has encompassed being a state park ranger with the Colorado State Park System, a Morgantown City police officer, and now obviously a Pennsylvania State Trooper. On May 23rd of this year, I was blessed with the opportunity to become the station commander of the Waynesburg Barracks in the county I grew up in. Not only did I grow up here, my wife and I have chosen to raise our two beautiful children here as well. With that in mind, I can tell you that not only am I vested in our community, like each and every law enforcement officer from each of the respective agencies within our county are as well. Drug addiction has emerged as one of the major social problems in the United States and other countries. Drug addiction can be defined as a drug user's compulsive need so that he or she can function normally. When such substances are not available to the addict, he or she is said to be suffering from substance withdrawal. Some drug addicts can afford purchasing these expensive drugs, but the reality is the majority of them have to indulge in some sort of criminal activity, such as burglary, thefts, to feed that addiction. The increase in abuse of prescription drugs and heroin is evident within our county. As such, there has been a steady increase in criminal activities such as burglaries, thefts, and even robberies. Ponder this for a moment. Why would a person arm themselves with a handgun, walk into a bank or a store, and commit a robbery? Does anyone think here this evening that person is going to get enough money to move to some Caribbean island and soak up the sun for the rest of their lives? It's simple. The answer is no. The reality is that individual is most likely going through some withdrawal from their addiction to either prescription drugs and or heroin and needs his or her fix. This brings me to my next point. I'm now 40 years old and have over 19 years of law enforcement experience. And I've never come across an individual that says they socially use heroin. The hard truth is that once you decide to inject this into your body, you're most likely going to become an addict, which is going to have a devastating impact on not only you, but your family. Without a doubt, Greene County law enforcement agencies are on the front lines of this fight against heroin and prescription drug abuse, as it has become an epidemic within our communities. Overdose calls have been on the rise. Arriving at the scenes to find drug dealers, as all too often finding drug dealers already dead, has all too often become routine. While many can argue that the war on drugs has been a failure, all of us here today can see that drugs continue to plague our communities, and law enforcement has the difficult task to combat its presence. With that in mind, law enforcement agencies within Greene County Greene County routinely work together, sharing intelligence, and at times jointly working on investigations to combat this epidemic. Our officers conduct various covert and undercover operations on a multitude of levels and are trained in various interdiction techniques, from undercover operations to the detection of criminal activity during so-called routine traffic stops. However, traditionally, law enforcement goes after the dealers and users. Although I think that is extremely important and needs to continue, I think we all need to start with our children. We need to get better at making sure our kids don't become addicts. You have to talk to your kids. You have to talk to your kids before you think you need to talk to your kids. When you think, it's too early, that's the time you need to talk to your children, not later. Parents are the biggest influence on our children. Parents also have to be sensitive and alert that they may have prescription medication that can lead to these addictions in their homes, and that there's a potential for addiction to happen regardless of where you live or your socio-economic status. In closing, I believe that we as a community have taken a significant step this evening in dealing with this epidemic by coming together and discussing it. I am hopeful that each and every one of us will keep our eyes and ears open to this problem that directly or indirectly affects each and every one of us. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next panelist, Reverend Kathy Carpenter from West Sides in Waynesburg.
Well, my name is Kathy Carpenter, and I not only represent West Sides and West Waynesburg, but also Greater Waynesburg Christian Outreach and WWJD Center in West Waynesburg. And I just want you to know that 33 years ago, I had asked God to just forgive me for the life that I had lived, and to also take that life from me and to give me a better life if He had it. And so, in doing that, He took me seriously. And I told Him, I will go anywhere that you call me to go. And He called me to West Waynesburg. And I want to let you know that how proud I am to be a member of Greene County and to be in this area. The drug epidemic did not happen overnight, and I think all of us are aware of that. And as Craig vouched for, since 1980, it's gotten continually worse, and all of us have seen the effects of that through our families, through our friends, in our community, in the crime rate, and some of you may be affected directly with that, but all of us have had friends and family that have been affected by it. It didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to be solved overnight either. It's going to be a long process, and so for all of us to work together, that's the most important thing, that we come together as a community. But I want you to also know that this epidemic is a result of a greater epidemic in our nation, and that is a sin epidemic. That we have fallen short of what God has called us to do as a nation. That we have things in our lives that are not pleasing to Him, and that we need to get situated and back on track where God wants us to be. If He wants us to, if we want Him to hear what our plea is and our cry is to Him. I want to read God's response to a prayer that was lifted up to Him by King Solomon. And this prayer was given to God through King Solomon at a dedication of a new temple that was built. So Solomon finished building the temple as well as his own palace. He completed what he had planned to do. One night the Lord appeared to Solomon and told him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen the temple as a place where I want you to sacrifice to me. If I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or if I command the locust swarms to eat up all of your crops, or if I send an epidemic among you, then if my people will humble themselves and pray, and search for me, and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven, and forgive their sins, and heal their land. I will listen, wide awake, to every prayer made in this place. For I have chosen this temple, and sanctified it to be my home forever. My eyes and my heart shall always be here. As for yourself, if you follow me as your father David did, then I will see to it that you and your descendants will always be the kings of Israel. But if you don't follow me, if you refuse the laws I have given you and worship idols, then I will destroy my people from this land of mine which I have given them. And this temple shall be destroyed, even though I have sanctified it for myself. Instead, I will make it a public horror and disgrace. Instead of it being famous, all who pass by will be incredulous. Why has the Lord done such a terrible thing to this land and to this temple? They will ask, and the answer will be, because his people abandoned the Lord God of their fathers, the God who brought them out of the land of Egypt, and they worshipped other gods instead. That is why he has done all this to them. I want you to know that this temple no longer exists, because through Jesus Christ, that temple has come again through our bodies, that we are that living temple. And that living temple is a place that we offer our sacrifice and forgiveness and also accept that forgiveness and sacrifice. God wants to heal this epidemic. God wants us to allow him to take control of that situation. He's the only one that has the power to put those things in place, and it's through us. We have to recognize that God is the solution. We have to recognize that his healing is available to all who will give into that. There's a Bible story that talks about Jesus doing a healing. And the reason why he had to do that healing himself is because his disciples were not able to do that healing. And so after the healing occurred, Christ was approached by the disciples and said, why wasn't I able? Why weren't we able to do that healing? And Jesus said, because this one requires prayer. The disciples had even forgotten that the power that they had was received from God himself. And that power came through lifting those things up in prayer. This epidemic is not our battle. This battle is the Lord's. And so you may ask today, what is required of us then? And the scripture would tell you that we need to act justly, love mercy, and to walk humbly with our Lord.
Our next speaker is Mr. Jonathan Johnson. He's the director. Jonathan Johnson and Thomas Schlosser.
Tom's just backing me up from the audience. Tom's backing me up from the audience.
Mr. Jonathan Johnson, is from the WHS Center for Recovery and Wellness, the outpatient.
Well, it's nice to be here this evening. It's wonderful to be here with so many people that care about this so very important issue in our community. I first became aware of the problem with opiate addiction at Chestnut Ridge when I was in graduate school. The picture of what an addict looked like at that point changed for me as I got to meet 50 and 60-year-old coal miners who are now hooked on heroin. And at that point I was like, Oxycontin, what's that? And then I began to understand how the opiate addiction began. Often in a doctor's office, where people don't realize maybe what that's opening the door to. And then before they know it, they're down a path that at no time did they ever thought they would be ending up on. Currently, I work at the Center for Recovery and Wellness here in Waynesburg. I've been practicing mental health treatment in this community for almost 15 years. And I've had the opportunity to be part of families and all different levels going through this epidemic. Currently, we provide Suboxone. For some people, that is a bad word, but I can say that we provide Suboxone in a context that requires treatment. It's not just a pill. It's not just a fix. It requires people to commit themselves to a new lifestyle. I'm not saying by any means it's a fix, and hopefully you hear that through this whole conversation. There is no fix to this problem. There is no legal fix to this. There's no medical fix. It's an epidemic because it affects so many different aspects of life. And if we're going to really address this, it's going to require a commitment from across the board. And that's what I get a little bit discouraged sometimes because I feel like we all work in our silos. As I look at the people up here on this panel, and we work in silos, and I think we're all working as well and as hard as we can, but we feel like we're fighting an uphill battle. And certainly the idea of us being able to come together and address this as a community is what's essential. Part of what's changed, I think, at least over the last couple of years, is hopefully the way that we view this addiction. People I think used to put labels, and that stigma was so strong that people avoided treatment, and I think the blame was really pushed upon people. And at this point, in this community, I think we need to recognize how we're failing our youth, how are we failing the people in this community, what do we need to do to strengthen it in order to help make recovery possible. And I hope you guys hear that, because to me that's on my heart. I see the stigma. I see people that are downtrodden. And they say to me, well, I have a criminal record. What difference does it make? I can never get a job. What difference does it make? Why should I get clean? Why should I go through this? And sometimes I think to myself, well, if I was in their position, I don't know. But we have to come up with some solutions to that, to instill hope in people and drive an opportunity. We need to surround them with that. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here. I've certainly, in a community of 40,000, to see this many people out here, but we know when we look at the numbers, I mean, we have 30 people that come to our Suboxone clinic, and I look at it and I think about, okay, well, this is somebody's brother, this is somebody's grandchild, and you start to think in a community of 40,000, how quickly that kind of spider webs across this whole county and the number of people that have been affected by opiate addiction. But thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Mr. Michael Cipoletti. He's the assistant professor of forensic science at Waynesburg University.
Can you hear me? We'll see how it looks. I'm the only person that brought pictures. Give it a chance to warm up here a little bit. Hopefully we don't have to turn the lights out. As Steve said, I'm a professor here at Waynesburg University. I teach forensic science. Before I came here, I had the opportunity to work for Pennsylvania State Police Crime Laboratory, and I was fortunate enough to serve the area that I grew up in. I was able to serve southwestern Pennsylvania. I grew up in West Green, graduated from West Green High School, so I still consider this my community. Hopefully what I can give to you, I don't have answers about how to deal with addiction. I know that you can't arrest your way or legislate your way out of this problem. So hopefully what I can give you is maybe a little bit of prevention. And in my opinion, the best prevention is information through education. So I'm not going to bore you with too much of the details here. We've already talked about this a little bit. Heroin's been around for a long time. Okay, it was synthesized from morphine that comes from the opiate plant. Okay, you heard a lot about opiate painkillers. Guess what? They're pretty much chemically the same. The stuff that they're giving you in the prescription pain medicines is either synthesized from the same thing that heroin is synthesized from, or it's designed chemically to do the same thing. Okay, and that's medically to block your pain. But the addiction side is obviously the side that everybody has a problem with. Now, 1990s, we talked about, some have talked about the 1980s and how heroin wasn't as concentrated. That's true. They didn't know really how to synthesize it as well, how to clean it up as well. We're talking about the drug cartels. These guys got smarter. They started to employ chemists that could help them figure out how to do this better, and that's kind of how it happened. Now, how does this blow up? It's because of the connection between prescription pain medicines and heroin being structurally similar in terms of its chemistry. I'm going to skip that. This is where I think we're going wrong here, and where I think we could do better. Take a look at some of these stats. For those of you over there who can't see them, I'm going to read it to you. Drug education IQ. Our drug education IQs aren't very good. Some of you, or a lot of you are parents. A lot of you got the drug or alcohol talk from your parents when you were younger. Maybe it was pretty extensive, maybe it wasn't. What I'm finding out, and this is information from teens that have been surveyed, is about 80% of teens get to talk about marijuana. About 80% of teens get to talk about alcohol. But only a third of teens have had the discussion about cocaine and heroin. And even less, 14% of teens have been educated from their parents or from their caregivers or from their teachers or whomever about prescription pain medicine or prescription abuse. Okay? So what does that mean? That means that about a third of teens think it's okay to use prescriptions that don't belong to them, or to use them in a way that wasn't prescribed for them. You can probably look around and you can probably think of some adults that have used prescription medicines in a way that wasn't prescribed for them. Or maybe they used their spouse's prescription medication for something. Or maybe you used something that was expired, okay? We're teaching our kids some bad lessons when we do that sort of thing, okay? Also, because of this lack of drug education, about a quarter of teens have misused or abused prescription medicines, okay? What's that mean? It means that of the teens that they surveyed in this particular survey, nearly 50% of the teens that are now doing heroin, nearly 50% of them started out abusing prescription pain medicines. So if you ask me, this is the connection. This is why it's become epidemic. Like I said, it's been around here for 100 years, but all of a sudden now it's an epidemic. This is the connection. I'm going to skip through some of these prescription drugs. Let me ask you this though. If you don't mind, how many of you have never seen a bag of heroin? That's a lot of people. So how can you educate somebody how to avoid it? You got to know what it looks like to show someone how to avoid it. Is that correct? Now everybody's seen marijuana, at least on TV. You've seen pictures of it. Everybody knows what booze looks like. Okay. Do you lock your booze up in your cabinets at home? What do you do with your medicine? You lock it up. Probably not. It's available. These look safe. They look like medicines that you take to make you well. Not necessarily the case if they're used improperly. How do you expect a child to understand that if they've never been educated in it? That's where I'm coming from on this. Fentanyl I'll talk a little bit more about later. This is the thing that gets me right here. This is the circle. This is the cycle. Okay, this is the connection. Oxycodone, we've heard about. Heroin, we've obviously heard about. Hydrocodone, everybody know what hydrocodone is? How about Vicodin? Does that ring a bell? Vicodin is the most prescribed medicine in the United States by far. By far, Vicodin is the most prescribed medicine in the United States. If somebody develops an addiction to these pain pills, this is the cycle. Eventually, their prescription is going to run out. Maybe the doctor will finally refuse to fill the prescription. Or maybe they run out of enough money to buy the stuff on their own, enough cash. So what are you going to cycle to? What's really available? Heroin. I know it says $15 a bag right now. Steve, tell me, is it more like $8?
Anywhere from $15 to $20 a bag.
Okay. I've seen in some place, New York City, I saw some stats was as low as $8 a bag.
Down here in Green County, with the transportation fee.
Transportation fee. Okay.
That's reality.
It's a reality. It's still pretty cheap. Okay, it's still pretty cheap, and that's a problem. So that cycle that if the demand is there, guys, the supply is not gonna go away. Again, you can't arrest it away, you can't legislate it away, so how do you get rid of the demand? Educate kids, maybe they'll make better choices. Everybody's wired, especially adults, to take risks. But if you've never used a drug, there's a reason why you didn't take that risk. I don't know what it was for you, but maybe it was because you knew you could possibly die from it. And if you knew that, would you take the risk? Probably not. Some people still will, but maybe you won't. So those of you that don't know what it looks like, this is what it looks like. It just looks like a simple powder. There's some pictures of paraphernalia up here. This is what you want to see. These are what the stamp bags look like, guys, if you haven't seen them. Little bags, little glassine packets, they typically have a stamp on them. It says something. If you get heroin that comes from west of the Mississippi, it's going to come in little balloon baggies. It's darker color because it comes from Mexico. And they synthesize it just a little bit differently, but it's the same stuff. Okay? This is what it looks like. If kids knew what it looked like, and they knew what it looked like, and they knew possibly could kill them, would they still choose to experiment with it, or would they move on to something else? I think most kids would choose to skip that because they know what it looks like. I read with a lot of interest a story in our Observer a couple of months ago, maybe it was a month ago, about the young lady who's working at a recovery house. She's recovering herself. She talked about how she had a great upbringing. She played sports. Her parents were at the games. Her dad coached. They brought her up right. She went away to college. She did a little experiment. She partied a little bit, and she experimented with this stuff, and it ruined her life. Fortunately for her, she has figured out how to recover, or at least she's in recovery. That's great. But a lot of people don't get that chance because this can be a one-time thing. All right? It can be a one-time thing. It's lethal. All right? A little bit on how lethal it is. Heroin's 2 to 3 times more potent than morphine. It only takes about 200 milligrams of heroin and morphine to kill you. If you don't know how much a milligram is, if you take a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of salt, that's about 1,000 milligrams of salt. So 200 is not very much. Hydrocodone's even less, okay? And fentanyl, which we're going to talk about in this situation that happened in Washington County about a month ago, 2 milligrams. 2 milligrams. It's a tiny amount. That's all it takes for a lethal dose. Now that's the average lethal dose. That changes if you're mixing the drug with something else, if you're drinking alcohol, or if you're taking some other kind of medicine. It changes. It could lessen the amount that it takes to be fatal. So you guys all saw the story, right? We had a 24-hour time period that elapsed in Washington County where several people overdosed, 18 heroin overdoses, 3 people died, as it turns out. What was it? There was more than that? In a 45-hour period, right, okay. That's a lot of overdoses. And the common denominator there for most of that heroin was that it had fentanyl in it. Let me show you another picture here, guys. This is a picture of heroin that didn't have fentanyl in it. This is a picture of heroin that has fentanyl in it. Can you tell the difference? Neither can the addict. It looks the same. There's 2 milligrams maybe in there. 2 milligrams out of 48, that's typically, it's about 50 milligrams, that's how much heroin's in a packet. This is where the mistake happens. And this is where it could be a one-time thing. So for that child that decides to experiment, that doesn't know what heroin looks like. All they know is somebody said, here, try this. This will get you where you want to go. What is it? Don't worry about it. And so you try it. And then it's all downhill from there. Okay? I'm not going to talk about this stuff because I know I'll take up too much time. These are other problems. Something that for another town hall, the synthetic stuff that you can buy on the internet, extremely dangerous, very potent, very unpredictable, really destroy your brain. We can talk about that another time. Or if you want to talk about it, come see me later and we'll talk about it. Resources, guys, this is what your kids are reading. Okay, they're going online and they're going to sites like Eurowid and they're going to sites like Blue Light. The internet is a great place for information. It's also a great place for misinformation and marketing. They market this stuff, these guys. How are they supposed to tell the difference if there isn't an educator there to set them straight? That's where I'm coming from. If you want resources on where you can better educate on this stuff, yourself with this stuff, drugabuse.gov is the National Institute of Drug Abuse. They have a lot of things online, a lot of resources for teachers, for community leaders, for parents, for teens, even themselves to go through a lot of interactive stuff. DEA Diversion and Control is another website that has a lot of useful information. Medicine Abuse Project is something that's specific about the prescription drug problem and abuse problem. Those are all great resources. If you need to find me, you just have to come up to campus or find me on the web. Waynesburg's website, go to the Forensic Science page. You can send me an email. I'll be glad to talk to you. That's it.
All right, the next speaker is Mr. Stephen Contaxis. He's the Detective Supervisor for Fayette County.
Thank you, and I really appreciate being here tonight. Let me just say, please don't hold against me that I'm from Fayette County. And by the way, our heroin is going for $10 a bag to Fayette County now, so it's a lot cheaper in Fayette County. I love the people of Green County. I had the opportunity to see the good work that's being done at the Oxford House. And I see in Green County a community that really cares, and I see that in all the people who are here tonight. To tell you a little bit about myself, I'm the supervisor for the Fayette County Drug Task Force. Myself and another captain actually run the Fayette County Drug Task Force. My expertise is in the area of forensic accounting. I'm a forensic accountant. So that means in addition to being a police officer, in addition to being a detective, I am an accountant, and that's how I'm trained. I'm a certified forensic accountant. And so I have a financial background and also a law enforcement background. What I do as a forensic accountant, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the other side of the drug problem tonight. Now let me just say first, when I came over into Greene County, I saw a little sign that said, "Welcome to Greene County." And that was about all I saw of that border, because let me just tell you, this is certainly a community problem. And as I heard tonight, it's not a problem that can be solved by law enforcement. Basically, what we do is we try to put some risk into it. We try to divert people from wanting to do it. We try to create a risk, because if you do it and we catch you doing it, there's going to be consequences. But law enforcement is no means a solution to the problem, and we can't possibly arrest everybody who's involved with even dealing in drugs. You know, I say, if we could just scratch the surface in law enforcement, we're doing about as best as we can do. This is truly a community problem. I look at Fayette County, our number one problem is the drug problem. I look at Allegheny County, the number one problem is the drug problem. Now, when I say the financial side of it, what I do as a forensic investigator, we not only follow the drugs, but we follow the money. And I can tell you, over the past few months, we probably have taken, in Fayette County alone, over $1.5 million off the streets in seizures. It's a lot of money. And that's what's driving this thing. And essentially what we do is we have detectives who are out there making buys on the streets, buying drugs on the streets, working their way up through the levels. My level is at the organized crime level. I'm looking at the bigger drug dealers. I'm looking at the money, and I'm looking at the money laundering, and that's what my area of expertise is. Now let me just say that this is also, in addition to being a community problem, I believe it is a spiritual problem, and it was good to open up tonight with singing Amazing Grace, because I think in that song alone, if we read the words, a lot of the answers to our problem are actually there. So it is a spiritual problem. But it is a financial problem. And a lot of what drives the drugs that you see on the street is the money that's behind it. And there is a lot of money that's behind it. Let's first start with what we talked about here, about the prescription medications that oftentimes do lead to the addictions of cocaine and heroin. Now, when I was over at the Oxford House a few months ago, they posed me with a question, and this was a survey that had been delivered among some of the young people in Greene County. And the question was, do you think the laws and norms of society are actually promoting drug addiction? And they asked me that question, being a financial guy, being a detective, I said, what do you think about that? And you know what, I 100% agree with that. Because, you know, if we look at prescription drugs, there's a lot of money behind prescription drugs. And I happen to believe that those prescription drugs are often overused. We see doctors who are giving out lots and lots of pills. They're very readily available. You turn on your television, and what do you see? Every other advertisement. There's a pill for everything. Every problem that you have, there's some kind of a pill for it. Now tell me if the norms of society aren't really saying that the answer to your problem is somewhere in some pill or some medication. And you know, I've seen many people get started on heroin and on cocaine, but they first started with the Vicodins. And they started with maybe a prescription that their mother had, or their father had. Or maybe their mother or father was addicted to a prescription medication. And you know, we start to drive this idea that the answer's in the pill. So behind the scenes, there are drug companies who are making lots of money. Now let's talk a little bit about the heroin problem. You know, I had a dealer one time, this is a fairly larger dealer. We were traveling to jail, and I talked to these people because I try to find out what's making them tick, what's going on. And you know, one of the things that he says, you know what, this is a heroin dealer. He says, I'll give my first one away free. That's the only one I'll ever have to give away free. And then I will have a customer for life. And that customer is going to give me a lot of money. And you know, our young people are seeing this. And they're seeing these dealers out there using them. And basically, and I say using them, because they even laugh at the people who are addicted. And you know, there are many dealers out there who will not touch the stuff themselves. They want to make the money from it. So basically, as a forensic accountant, okay, I follow the money. They like to spend money. They have to spend the money. They have all kinds of elaborate schemes for hiding their drugs and how they're going to transport their drugs. And they're going to put a car here, the drugs are going to be hidden in the truck, and somebody else is going to pick it up. Yeah, I've been through all that. Then they'll take their money and they'll start spending their money. Well, I watch them spend their money. I look at where they're spending their money. I look at how much money they're spending. I look at their tax returns. I look at their bank accounts. I look at all of that. We build a case. And it is a very effective way to work and obviously get the money off the street. But you know, for us as a society, we have to really think about the problem in terms of that. Are we as a society sending the wrong message? Are we allowing the wrong message to be sent? You know, I've also seen the other side of drug addiction. I've seen the pain. I've seen the deaths. I've seen the sorrow. I've seen the hurts. And I can tell you that if we could somehow or another get across to the young people that, you know what, you're looking for that high. After that first high, there's misery for the rest of your, in most cases, for the rest of your life. Because, you know what, Somebody who's an addict, I will tell you, just like somebody who is addicted to alcohol, I'm always an alcoholic. I'm always an addict. You know, that temptation is always going to be there. And you know, it's something that you're going to have to fight for the rest of your life. You know, I said to a group of young people that I was speaking to, if I told you that I was going to take you, and I was going to lock you up, I was going to make you my slave, I was going to make you go out and I was going to make you steal from me, and I was going to make you work for me, and I was going to make you bring all of your money to me, and you have to do everything that I tell you to do, would you do that? I said, no, nobody wants that. But you know what? That's what it's like to be addicted. Because you become a slave to somebody, and it's all about the money. And you know, I think we as a society have to send the right message to our young people. We have to show them the ugly side of drug addiction. And I think that's the message that we need to get across to them. Thank you very much.
All right, the next speaker is Mr. Jeff Wilson, Greene County Drug and Alcohol Evaluator and Re-Entry Court Monitor.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff Wilson. I'm actually the forensic re-entry specialist is my job title for human services, but Judge Toothman likes to refer to me as the gray area. He sends us a lot of clients. I'm here in court a great deal, seeing what you all are going through. And it's awesome to see this many people here. There's people from all walks. There's people back there whistling. I'm a little too tall for the mic. But you know, the incredible thing is, and what I see is hope here. I didn't prepare a speech or anything. I ran into a kid. I worked in treatment several years ago at an inpatient program. I ran into a kid today that I haven't seen in 10 years. He actually got sent to state prison. And he came up to me and said, he's been clean since he got out of the state penitentiary. He's got a kid, he's got a life, he's got a career. He's going to meetings. He's doing all the things that we in treatment tell people to do. What I do as the forensic reentry specialist, I kind of coordinate between probation, the courts, and the treatment providers, and trying to get people the help that they desperately need. The unfortunate thing is a lot of times people don't think they can help. You know, they have the answer to the problem. And, their answer hasn't worked. Their answer is the reason why they're in court. Their answer is the reason why you guys are all here, because you're all looking for answers. I think that the people that are in the recovering community, I think that the treatment providers, and I think that all you people can help. I really, really do. We need to take these people under our wings. You know, we need to show them the compassion, but we also need to be hard. I've had many a conversation with family, and I tell them, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I've told them to file charges on their children. I've told them to cut them off. I've told them not to speak to them. It works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. But the thing is, it's our job to make people thirsty. It's our job to make people want help and to get out of that lifestyle. Because I see success every day. You know, I walk around this town, I see people that I've sent to treatment. I've seen people I've worked with in treatment over the years. It's awesome to see people change and grow. It's for me, going into the jail and doing an assessment on somebody and seeing them a year later at their place of employment, paying on their fines, doing the things that they need to, becoming productive. It's one of those things, I can't put words on what it makes me feel, But the thing is, we have to have hope. That's what I think this night is about. We don't have to bury anybody in. When I worked at the rehab center, I had a file of obituaries that I would collect from the clients that came through. still have that file. I haven't added anything to it in a long time because I would have to get a file again. You know, this addiction is treatable, and you know, we have recovery and wellness, we have the care center, we've got the Oxford House, we've got all these things here. But you know, human services, we do referrals. You know, people come in and they get assessed. We pay for their treatment if they don't have the money. We assist them in getting hooked up with insurance. But our office should be full all the time if people really want help. You know, they should be beating down the door if they're complaining. You know, because a lot of people don't want help. My hope for this night is that the people that are out there that don't think they can be helped, the people that are out there that don't want any help, maybe they'll hear something, maybe somebody will say something, maybe one of you walking back into the community after this night will be able to say to them, hey, call Human Services, hey, call Recovery Wellness, hey, call the Care Center. Call the number on the back of your insurance card to find out who you can go to for drug and alcohol treatment if you don't want to talk to anyone else. But I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all so much for being here.
Our next speaker is Ms. Susan Barrett Orr of Care Incorporated.
Hi, I'm Susan Orr. I'm the district supervisor for the Care Center, and I happen to be Lori Bailey, who's also a supervisor in our drug and alcohol and mental health programs at the Care Center. I wanted to speak about our programs, what we offer, just as information to you, but I also want to speak about how we are part of all the rest of this, everybody else that's talked to you. Judge Toothman talked about the strategy. Our part of the strategy is the treatment part. We do treatment for drug and alcohol, people that have offended. We work with probation with Craig Wise. We work with Jeff Wilson. We get referrals from him. But I just give, this is a Greene County statistics. We've heard about what happens in the nation. We've heard about what happened in Washington County, things like that. But as the Care Center providing drug and alcohol treatment in Greene County, I just want to throw out some numbers to you. And I don't normally do numbers because I don't like them, but we served 696 drug and alcohol clients last year. 696. Out of those 696, 291 reported using heroin. That's a large number for 696 people. And we've talked a lot about heroin tonight, but there's another drug out there that is huge too, not just as, almost as big as heroin, and that's alcohol. And alcohol doesn't get talked about anymore, kind of gets overlooked. We have the DUI laws, we have the DUI treatments. It's legal, right, to drink alcohol if you're over 21. But that is a huge problem as well as heroin is. So when you saw the signs outside that said heroin and other drugs, we do talk about all the other drugs, the marijuana and different things, but I just had to say that alcohol is still our #1 misused drug. We offer different kinds of treatment. We are outpatient treatment providers, so we offer outpatient treatment. We offer intensive outpatient treatment. So the difference in that is you come more often. You come to a group 3 times a week. You have individual sessions. Outpatient treatments, you might come to a group, you might come to individuals, you might do a little bit of both. We have a SAP program in the schools where we have a drug and alcohol counselor that's in every school in Greene County. She visits all the schools. We just started a school-based drug and alcohol therapist in Central Greene School District that's dedicated just to that school district. And we also have forensic programs. Those are the programs that we work with Jeff, and I'm going to let Lori talk about those. The other thing that I wanted to bring up and point out about drug use, and Judge Toothman touched on that was trauma. The people that we see that abuse drugs, abuse alcohol, have some sort of trauma in their life. And when I say trauma, it could be sexual abuse, it could be spousal abuse, it could be somebody had a wreck in a car and they survived it and everybody else in that car died from it. Trauma is a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It could be the weather, it could be just many different things. It could be your house getting broken into, or your house getting set on fire. Those kind of things can be traumatic to people. And that sometimes is paired with the use of drugs, the use of alcohol to take that pain, to take that away. The other issue that we have in treatment a lot of times with our drug and alcohol clients is mental health issues, depression, and then sometimes we ask that question, which came first, the depression or the alcohol use, the depression or the drug use? And then we treat, as a treatment provider, we're looking at how should we treat this? Do we treat that depression and the alcohol use goes away? Do we treat that alcohol use and the depression goes away? Alcohol is a depressant. It makes you feel depressed. You might feel good for a few minutes, but it makes you feel depressed. So you add that on top of depression, and you're really going to be depressed. So those are the kind of things. Those are our kind of the things that we look at in treatment that are roadblocks to people getting well, that are roadblocks to us giving care to people who need the treatment and trying to figure out the best way to do it. So I'm going to let Lori talk about our forensic programs because that's a big part of our treatment program when we work with probation in the court system.
Thank you, Susan. Our forensic program, we have what's called an integrated reporting center, and we work closely with Greene County Human Services, with probation and parole, and what it is, it's a weekly reporting center for those who are in the parole probation system and the judicial system. They're just coming out of either jail, some institution, treatment, and they come and they report to our office once a week. And probation comes, parole comes, whoever, Jeff from the county comes, and we give them set up with services. We do a holistic approach. We help them if they have insurance issues, we help them get hooked up with insurance. If they have housing issues, we help them with those. Work issues, those type of things. We help to take care of the roadblocks to get them to treatment. And then when those things are settled, they do enter into treatment. I also work with another program in Greene County Human Services called E-Tracks. And what we do is we bridge the gap between inpatient rehab and outpatient services. And I have gone and visited rehabs, folks who are in rehabs, and make sure that they get set up with services whenever they return home. So we want to make that transition as easy as possible into treatment. And when we look at addiction is a physical problem, it's a mental, emotional problem, and it's also a spiritual problem. And what we do at the care center when we get them into treatment is we work on all of those three levels with them to help them with their physical problems. What are their needs? To help them with their emotional problems, a lot of emotional issues, trauma, everything that comes along with addiction, and those spiritual issues as well. We also have a certified peer specialist, a forensic peer specialist, who is someone who is in recovery himself, and he helps bridge those gaps too, and helps engage the individual into treatment and in the community and into the recovery community that we have. That's all a part of our services, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mr. Tom Musgrove, representing the Oxford House.
Public speaking is my best. I get nervous, so this will hold me. It's been about a year years since we opened the doors to Greene County's only sober living house, the Oxford House. It's right at Cumberland Street in downtown Waynesburg. I've had the pleasure of being the president there, which I don't hold much to the word president. I was the first member, so I was the president. I've gotten close with the guys that live there. We've had our ups and downs. The house holds 7 people. We've had 12 people that have lived there. Some have left sober. Some have been asked to leave because they picked up alcohol or drugs. There's no tolerance for alcohol or drugs there. You pick up, you have to leave within 15 minutes. Sounds harsh, sounds heartless, but I get it. If we let the place get dirty, there's no hope there. You know, you gotta have hope for the next guy that comes in the door. If you're asked to leave, you can be invited back after 30 days. Well, you have to resubmit an application and be invited back. What I'm proud of, I think, most is that some of the guys that I've grown close to there, and I feel it's the longest they've ever been clean and sober. And they attribute that to the house and the fellowship of being together. There's a 12-step in the world of recovery. And I'm here tonight because of that 12-step. I'm trying to give back like the people gave to me when I was going to die. I was born in Brooklyn. My father was a cop all my life. My family is, there's millions of cops in my family. By the time I was 19, my dad was a police lieutenant in New York, and I had been picked up for about the 18th and the 19th time. And they always said, let Musgrove go home, his dad so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of how it was back then, mid-70s or thereabouts. And one night I was in 103rd Precinct in Queens. And I was in this holding cell, and my dad came in and he came close to the bars, and he put his arm through the bars and kind of pulled my head close to the bars, and he says, you know what, don't use our name anymore, you're going to kill someone and kill yourself. And he walked away. And I remember how much that hurt. I kept drinking and drugging for another 17 years, whatever it was after that. And there was one other time. This is the time that I'm living in Queens now, and I'm walking down towards the Belmont racetrack, and I'm thinking to myself and hating myself and thinking what a bum I had become. And what I was raised really well. I had wonderful parents. Matter of fact, my dad's 93 in a couple days. My mom's 91. I went to their 73rd wedding anniversary recently. I was raised by wonderful people. But yet, once this thing got hold of me, man, I don't know. It is, you know, just one of those things. And I don't look for pity in that because I'm the one that kept picking it up. I take all the blame. I'm the one that kept picking it up. Anyway, I'm walking down the street thinking to myself, what a bum I am, you know? And my solution to that was, I'm going to drink harder and faster so I can black out quicker so I don't have to deal with what I feel. And I meant that with all my heart and soul. And today I don't feel that way. I'm just nervous being up here. I've had a lot of good recovery thanks to the people that came before me. Thanks to the opportunities that we're hearing about in this room. And if you hear nothing else today, I'm here to tell you there is hope, because I know tens of thousands of people that get into recovery. Sometimes the hard way, sometimes the easy way. I don't know that there is anybody that don't really want it. I think they're so full of fear that if they're removed from that drug and alcohol and the pain it's going to cause them, and can they make it, and can they get their loved ones back, and it's just so overwhelming. I think, you know, and that's not a cop-out. You know, we got to take responsibility. Bill Wilson is one of the co-founders of AA, and in one of the stories I read on him, he wrote, and this goes back to the Oxford House and why I got involved in it. He said, you know, us AA guys have taken long enough. It's time to friggin' give back. It's not about you get sober and take. No. You know, you get sober and you join life. You get a job. You earn your keep. You know, if you need a few things along the way, there's not a damn thing wrong with that. But you got to stand up and take responsibility. And I'm just rambling. Thank you very much.
Okay, unless I'm mistaken, our final speaker on this panel, is that right, Mr. Taylor? Our final speaker on this panel is the Honorable Brian Tennant. He is Greene County Sheriff.
Before I get into my speech, I'd like to ask Chief Deputy Marcus Sims and Deputy Christopher Caldwell to come forward. These two gentlemen work for me, my chief deputy and my deputy. They have no clue what's going on right now. Come on around. So, yesterday, Marcus Sims was working his other full-time job as a Waynesburg police officer. Christopher Caldwell was working at the sheriff's office. And they pulled the car over and they found what they suspect to be heroin in the vehicle. And while they were processing the evidence and containing the suspects, one of the other officers that was on scene, who was also a part-time deputy, became ill. And he asked for an ambulance to be called. And an ambulance was dispatched to the scene. Before the ambulance could get there, the officer started throwing up blood and passed out, went unconscious. And Chief Deputy Sims, with a level head, took control of the scene, and the two gentlemen helped load him into the vehicle, and the sheriff's car, or the police car, and transported him to the hospital. They were able to get him stabilized and transfer him to Pittsburgh. I'm happy to report he's currently in stable condition. I talked to him today, and he's doing okay. So it is with a tremendous amount of pride that I present my deputies, my brothers, with a Distinguished Service Award from the Greene County Sheriff's Office. I just felt that was necessary for that to be acknowledged, that the efforts they put in on the call. In law enforcement, we're a family, and we may have our little spats with one another, just like family members do, but we're a brotherhood. And so when a family member like that goes down, that's emotionally trying as well as physically trying. Everything comes into play there, not to mention the fact you have suspects you're having custody. So it's really a great thing that he's able to keep his mind about him and handle the situation appropriately. I great idea for tonight. I was going to do this tremendous speech and wow you with facts and statistics about what we do at the Sheriff's Office and what we've been able to accomplish as I took office. And unfortunately, Bill had other plans for me. I was planning on coming back and bringing it all off before I came up here and spoke tonight, but unfortunately I was tied up, fortunately I was tied up with my children's parent-teacher conferences. They ran a little later than I anticipated, so I wasn't able to do all that. So what I'm going to share with you tonight is from the heart. I don't have anything pre-prepared. I have been in public safety in Greene County for almost 2 decades. I have worked for the fire department. I still am a member. I've worked EMS. I've worked in corrections. I've worked as a police officer, and I'm now the sheriff. I have seen it from almost every angle that there is to see it from. And none of it's pretty. I've seen more dead bodies than I would like to think about. Many of those have been attributed to drugs in some way, whether it be an overdose or a vehicle accident. It could be contributed to or contributed by an overdose. I've had the unpleasant task of cutting friends that I went to high school with, dead bodies out of vehicles. And I'm sure that many of you could share a tragedy as well. There are so many problems that we have in our community, and as a father of 4 young boys, 7, 6, 3, and 1, it absolutely terrifies me that they're going to be growing up in this environment. It is sickening to me when I think about it, because nobody's exempt from it. It doesn't matter if you're the son of a coal miner, or the daughter of a politician, or any other profession out there. If you're from a good background, from a bad background, nobody's exempt from it. Doesn't matter if you're from a rich family or a poor family, it's equal opportunity. And so, I think that as it's been said, arresting the problem isn't going to solve it. We got to have a police officer on every single corner and take every single amount of heroin out of our county that we can, and it's still going to be a problem. Any smokers in the room? Not one smoker? One smoker. All right, 2 smokers. So the way it was put to me one time, I thought this was a fascinating analogy, is that if you're a smoker, if we took all of the cigarettes out of Greene County, would you stop smoking? Well, if you were driving to Morgantown, Washington, or Uniontown, or Pittsburgh, you get your cigarettes. It is very similar to the drug problem we have. We can arrest people all day long. But if we don't stop them from doing it before they start, we're never going to get anywhere. I think the key is prevention, prevention, prevention. It is so much easier to stop somebody from doing it the first time than it is to stop them once they've been doing it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is much more difficult. In closing, I think, and I believe, and I think you do too, otherwise you wouldn't be here, that we can definitely fix the problem. Maybe not solve it, but we can make a dent in it for sure. I think our community, while it might be small, I think that is a benefit to us. Because my children play with Sergeant Dallas' children. My children play with Controller Dave Dallas' children. We have a very close-knit community, and I think we have the ability to all join together and come up with a system that works. Maybe it's not all prevention. I don't think there's necessarily one cookie-cutter approach for the problem we have. But I think that we can come together with a multifaceted approach and help address some of the issues we have here in Greene County.
Gentlemen, at this time, we are going to be hearing from several people who are in recovery. We're asking, when I say your name, that please stand up if you're in the audience, and we will bring a microphone over to you. Okay. Our first person that we're going to hear from is Jeremy Z.
I'm just going to give you a little background on myself. I'm 35 years old. I graduated from Jefferson High School. I came from a great family, very hardworking family. Was raised very good. Had everything I ever wanted and pretty much anything I ever needed. Started experimenting with drugs, and one thing led to another, and for about 18 years, full-blown drug addict and an alcoholic. About the age of about 23, 24, I started using heroin on a regular basis. Hit it with my friends and family for a long time, and then it just got so unmanageable that I lost just about everything in my life. I was happily married at one time, lost my wife, lost a relationship with my son, lost everything. About 3 years ago, everything went kaput, and I was homeless. I wandered the streets of Washington County, the city of Washington, for about 2.5 years. Done everything you heard people talking about, like robbing, stealing, and doing what I could do to not be sick. And then, I don't know, over that course of time, I was introduced to these programs and everything, and you know, I never had the willingness or desire to stop doing what I was doing. I had to cause myself a lot more pain to myself, to my family, and people around me. And about 15 months ago, the pain finally got great enough for me, and I put down drugs and alcohol. And I owe it to Narcotics Anonymous and the place where I live now, the Foster House. I can't say enough about that place. Given me freedom from active addiction. It's given me a relationship back with my father. It's given me a relationship back with my son. It's given me everything that I was taught as a kid that you should want and have. And I work full time now. I have friends that I can trust, people that actually care for me, and people that I actually care about. People who don't want nothing for me, and I don't want nothing for nobody. You know. My life today, from where it was 15 months ago, is a total of 360. And if you guys would have known me 15 months ago, and I know a lot of people in here think that heroin addicts and alcoholics are the scum of the earth. That's the farthest from the truth, man. We're all good people. We just make very poor decisions sometimes. And once that poor decision is made, it's we're going to stop. I don't know. I live in a house with a bunch of great guys. Yeah, some people was asked to leave, but you know that's the nature of this disease. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, not everybody's going to get it. And I heard some people talk tonight and say that they don't know a solution to this. Well, I found a solution for me, and it worked for thousands and thousands of other people. It's Narcotics Anonymous. It's a 12-step program. You know, you might have to jump through some hoops and go to care or rehab or whatever to do it, but it's well worth it. And I heard somebody else speak tonight on the tough love thing. I know a lot of parents in here don't want to see their children die or lost to this disease, but sometimes that's the only answer is to turn your back on it. You know, and it sucks to say that, but there's no other way around it. There really isn't. And hopefully they do get it, you know, because I've caused so much pain to people in my life. I'm totally amazed today that people are still wanting to talk to me, you know what I mean? And people are trusting me today. And, I don't know, I can't believe how many people showed up here tonight. I wasn't really expecting this.
Our next speakers are Lynn and Don B.
Hi, I'm Don. This is my wife, Lynn. We've lived here in Greene County all of our lives. I think we raised our children. We had 3 girls. Normal family. I worked. Lynn was a stay-at-home mom until they got into school. Kids played sports, in the band, all the right stuff. Had 3 daughters. Jenny's our oldest. She is 32. Megan is our middle daughter. She's 30. And we have Ashley is 25. The kids all went through high school, graduated West Greene. Jenny went to Morgantown, West Virginia Junior University, got a degree in medical assistance. Megan went to school, got a degree in legal aid. Our youngest daughter, Ashley, went 4 years college, Seton Hill. She's now a certified social worker. Our 2 older daughters, their problems with drugs started early on in their lives, especially in their young adulthood. They both ended up addicted to heroin. Lynn and I had sent them, encouraged them. They voluntarily went to rehab several times in their life. 21 days in rehab is hard to break a lifetime of addiction. Last time is Mother's Day last year. They both come to us, especially her mother, said, "Mom, we are so sick of being like this. We're tired of being sick. We want away from this life. Can you please help us?" Got them both in rehab. They went to 2 different places. Jenny went to a place and she did very well. She said she felt like the old lady in the place. A lot of kids were younger, and she did a lot of encouraging to the younger ones. She was team leader there. She come home, she was on top of the world, but she told us, she says, Dad, I just need something else. We tried to find there was no Oxford House at that time. There was nothing in Greene County at that time. She said, I feel good, I want to stay this way, this is what I lead my life. She had a 9-year-old son. She got a rehab, was doing great. A couple days after she was rehab, she wanted to know if she could have some money to go get her hair done, her nails done, so she could look good. And we got a call from Washington Hospital where she'd been involved in a car accident. My wife and I went to the hospital, expecting her to be in a car accident. Here she had a heroin overdose. She was just in a parking lot and just pulled up. It had nothing to do with it. We watched her lay there and twitch and blink and, all the horrible things you hear about. She did that for 2 days. Finally, they declared her brain dead. My wife and I had to make the decision to shut off life support. In the meantime, when this is all going on, her younger sister Megan laid on her day and night crying. Said, "Jenny, don't worry, I love your son, I'll take care of your son, I'll be his mom, we'll get through this." Megan was doing good when she got through that. She stayed pretty clean for like 3 months, and then we could start to see her slip away. So we were talking to her. One day she had a bad day, a brake line broke in her car, and she ran into the back of another car. Nobody hurt, no major damage, but it just totally upset her. She come home that night, we talked to her. The next morning, Lynn and I were getting ready to go to work. Megan had her mom's cell phone. Lynn went up to get her cell phone off of Megan and found her deceased upstairs also. 4 months to the day, they both passed away. It's just devastating, this addiction stuff. There is lots of places that give help to them. But, I think the thing like the Oxford House is the answer. The 21-day thing just doesn't do it. But, that's our story. It's a sad ending. Our son-in-law is a recovering addict. He's been clean for 2 years. I went from wanting to kill him about every day to loving him like a brother, like a son, because he has changed his life completely. My wife and I at the current time are raising our grandson, which is a life-changing experience also at 60 years old. We have the energy he has, but we're doing good, and it's probably thank God for him to help us through, what we've been through. Thank you.
Well, we had our next speaker was scheduled to be here, but looking at my notes, I'm happy to report that Kelly B could not be here because she is out having a baby. Is that right? So we wish her the best. All right, our next speaker, we have a gentleman by the name of Jason F. Who said it?
Hello everyone. I'm an addict named Jason. Excuse me, I'm really nervous. But 8 months ago, I came into recovery, and I was like a tornado in my active addiction. Anyone and everyone that I came past, I destroyed their life. And I have 2 thanks to Narcotics Anonymous and the Oxford House as well, because I live there. It's a great group of guys, and that's pretty much all I got. Thanks.
Our next speaker will be Bonnie F.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Fisher. I've been in recovery for 19 years, recovering from drugs and alcohol, and I'm very active and very passionate about recovery, and I'm very active with anything that has to do with recovery. I've been going into the Greene County Jail for about 17 of those years with an AA meeting, and one thing I'm going to talk about today, yes, recovery has changed my life, saved my life. There is a solution, and it is programs in AA, NA, and a power greater than yourself. It is a spiritual program. But what I wanted to talk about was going into the Greene County Jail, and it is such a great feeling when we see one of those girls walk into the rooms, the 12-step rooms, the women that go in there for the meetings, and that really get it, and we do have some successes. But we would have more successes if we had Oxford houses for the women too, which is what we're trying to get. I can tell you, me and the ladies that go in there, I don't know how many of the girls, it's like a revolving door. It's the same girls going in there year after year, the ones that are lucky and make it back there. I've seen people who don't make it back there. But the main thing is that we get these more resources for these people, that have drug addiction, alcohol, so they have somewhere to go. Several of the girls said they wish they had an Oxford house, the ones that were in there, a place to go. And an Oxford house is good because they actually have to become productive members of society. They have to get a job. They have to support other recovering people. I think that's why the 12-step programs work, is just like the little skit that they did early. You have another person in recovery that helps pull you up, they support you, and you have them backing you. One alcoholic or one addict best understands another alcoholic or another addict, and that's the way it works, And I'm just really happy too to see all these people turn out, and I'm hoping we get those Oxford houses for women also. Thank you.
Okay, our our next speaker will be Mark P.
Hi everybody, my name is Mark and I'm an alcoholic addict. I started my addiction about 2 years ago. It ultimately led to me being expelled from high school when I was 17. I was on the football team, ran tracks, and I just kind of played the game. I wasn't ready to quit. That's one thing people understand, they want to force help upon people. But it's ultimately the person whose problem it is to accept that help. And it took me getting an armed robbery and going to jail about 2 years ago to get my life on track. And I'm over 2 years clean now. I have my family back.
Before we continue, I know we've just applauded all of these speakers, but I'd like to, if we may, please applaud them again for I just want to say a couple quick things. First of all, I wanted to personally thank someone. This gentleman and I have been friends for a long time, and he always relishes the opportunity to embarrass me in public in a good-natured, joking manner. So I would this time like to return the favor and thank Mr. Doug Wilson of Drug Epidemic. Contrary to any rumors, neither Doug nor myself are running for any kind of political office. Just wanted to let you be aware of that. At this time, we are going to allow some opportunities for you, the audience, to say what's on your mind, maybe ask some questions for this panel. We're going to be giving you guys the opportunity to speak. This is the interactive session. Drug or alcohol addiction related only, whether it's comments or questions, but we do encourage you to ask questions. We are asking for no political questions or remarks, no specific cases, please, and we ask that you continue to have civil and public decorum, please. So at this time, we are going to be giving you the opportunity, if anybody would like to stand up and speak, we will have a microphone for you.
Thank you. I just want to congratulate every single one of the people in recovery for being here, for being a voice for literally thousands of others that are probably suffering right now as we speak. And I wish that they could hear your voices and see your faces and see what's available to them. It sounds as though that we have some things that we can use in our toolbox as some sort of a way forward for a lot of people in need. And I'm Senator Cameron Bartolotta, by the way. I don't know if I haven't met all of you. But actually, I'm working on legislation right now that addresses this head on. And it's about getting people in recovery, in long-term recovery, not a 21-day fix, not a short time drive through. Actually provide services for these folks, that it's long-lasting and really, truly recovery, and not just an exchange of one addiction for another. So I thank you for all of your testimony, and I will be reaching out to all of you for your advice and for your help.
I've lost two brothers to drug addiction. One cocaine, one heroin. Came from a good family. But one thing I have noticed, and it hasn't been mentioned, and I did mention to the panel, is that what I have seen is, and this is for the parents here, a lot of parents are in denial. They think, my kid's okay, he's going to be okay. Yeah, he can drink that beer, or he can do a little pog, or whatever. He's going to be okay. I went through that with my parents. Kind of tried to hide it. Well, they died from a heart attack. No, they died from drug overdose. But I'm telling you, as a parent, I've got 3 children, but as parents, please do not be in denial. You have to accept it. You have to address it. Because, right, guys? I mean, that's what I'm seeing. I see parents saying, my kid's going to be okay. They're fine. And I lived through that through my family, and so I'm telling you and asking you, please don't deny it. Address it. Thank you.
My name is Pastor Jenny Everhart, and I am on Southeastern Green School District's school board. And I have been talking about the heroin addiction problem to everybody I can possibly talk to. We have in our patches heroin dealers who have moved in and they are using our children as prey. They are operating their businesses in our schools. And we have been talking about how to fix this. And I told them the number one way is to make sure they're not a consumer. But the problem is that there needs to be programs that we can bring into the school, people who can come in and talk. I used to do this for a living all the time. I was a community drug and alcohol educator. But there needs to be young men who have had the addiction come into the schools. We need to have a list of people who can come to the schools and talk to our kids about these problems. Because they need to know what that heroin looks like. They need to know that they're preying on them for money. They need to know from people who have experience in actually going through it, such as you have, the heartache of what has been caused. There is no end to this. And I'll tell you what, quite honestly, I hope that whenever you think about you can't do anything about this problem, go get those drug dealers. Yeah. They're going to have one heck of a spiritual problem standing before God Almighty on Judgment Day. Yeah. Because they will be held accountable for every single one that they've done this to. We need fights, and it has to be together. You guys all have these skills to be able to do it, but nobody knows who you are. Please, put out to the schools a list of people who can come and talk. Please, give the schools a comprehensive idea of how they may be able to solve the problem. And police, please come to our schools. Please get out into our communities. Please talk to these kids. And you will find that it will make a big difference. We need you. The problem's got to be solved. We've got to do it by stopping the drug dealers from making our kids human prey.
My name is Robert Bruckner. I'm from Greene County. I lost 3 good buddies of mine. I told them to get off the alcohol and everything, and they did go off for quite a while, but they got back on it and everything, and I don't know whether they were saved or not, but that's between them and God. I'm not the judge. But I want to thank everyone that came out here this night, all the speakers that really speak here tonight. But one of the biggest problems we need, I try to fight this one woman, Nanglin O'Hara. I know she got murdered, got mutilated, but you know, I went out here and passed every petition and everything, tried to get the prayer back in our school. That's what's wrong with our society today. one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know, there is a judgment day coming. When there's a point on the men wants to die, then after that is the judgment. You know, listen, you young people here tonight, it doesn't pay to get on drugs. I never been on drugs, but I left home when I was 21, and I got to drinking a little bit. I never turned out to be an alcohol, but I see what it did to my friend. I lost 3 friends, and it broke my heart. And I'll tell you, listen to me what I'm telling you tonight, every one of you in this Greene County Courthouse, it doesn't pay to get on drugs. It will ruin your life, and heroin will kill you. And already there was 1,000 people already have died this year from being on heroin and drugs. I just thank God I never got on it and I never got started. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight.
Hi, I hope I'm a familiar face. My name is Jody Koss. I have 3 children in Waynesburg Central School District. 2 of them have graduated. I am ashamed but proud to say I am the parent of a recovering addict, 30 days clean. We come from a very good home. We're paycheck to paycheck people like everybody else in Greene County. My son is a coal miner by trade. He didn't choose to follow this path. He made a bad decision. And we as parents need to open our eyes and realize, don't say it's not going to be my kid. It's not going to happen to our family. Because guess what? 3 months ago, I would never thought I'd be here telling you that my son is an addict. And you know what? 3 months ago, I would have been ashamed to say it. But if we're ashamed of it, we're hiding it. And this town is notorious for hiding our shame under the carpet. Like, we if you feel something is off with your child, guess what? Something is off with your child. Take their doors off their hinges. Take the bathroom doors off their hinges. Do not give them privacy. If they live in your home and they are your child, they don't have any privacy. One thing I want every parent here to know is there is a website called teensafe.net. $14.95 a month, and you can download every single text message your child sends and deletes, and you can read them. Don't be afraid to do it, because that's how we discovered my son was using. Nobody picked up a phone and called us and told us that he was using. Half the county knew, but didn't bother to tell us. Teensafe.com saved my son's life.
Hi, I'm Bly, and I'm a recovering alcoholic, and definitely a friend of the Oxford House, and we in recovery are really trying hard to help everybody. The 12 steps are very important, and the 12th step, which means we have to give back, and I think that's what we're doing. So, thank everybody for coming. Appreciate it.
Wait a minute, Bly, that's not fair for you just to say that. Bly is not just a lifelong friend of the community and myself, but that's the fella who risks his life to keep that clock ticking up. Before anybody else leaves, it was Blystone and Bob Terry who came to see me to say that you all would come if we provided the forum.
Great.
there's such heartache everywhere. You guys are not alone. I started an organization a couple years ago called Not One More. We had another chapter in Simi Valley, California, and I said, we need this over here on the East Coast. Both of my children are in recovery. My son almost 4 years, heroin, my daughter, I think going on 2 years. And I have to say, you know, kudos to mom back there, because it is up to us, moms who do have the kids in recovery, or us moms and dads who have lost their kids, and those who are in recovery or those suffering, to change the stigma and change the mind of everybody sitting here. This problem isn't going to go away without all of us working together as a team, and it doesn't matter whether you're from a nonprofit or a grassroots organization like I am. By the way, a couple of you already have my eye on you for bringing Not One More here to Greene County, okay? Because we need passion to save the lives of everybody in the communities that are being affected. The drug dealers that are at the low level on your streets are your kids. They are using, and they are supporting their habits. They are the runners for the big guys that are making all the money, and they're the ones that are going to tell. And if they do tell, trust me, they will die. You come from a big city, and I have been in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and some other areas in other countries. I think you're here from New York. You don't live if you say certain things to certain people. So these kids do get themselves wrapped up in a really bad place, and then they're addicted to heroin. So have a heart for these people. The parents are struggling. We need more than 21 days, and actually we get a lot of 2 weeks spares. My question is, I would ask that you make sure that your first responders are looking into programs for carrying Narcan. I know that the state police, I think that is a requirement, and your EMT has it. But I know that when that stuff happened in Washington County, that was 2 days or so after we had a large event in Washington. That was our 3rd or 4th in Washington. And they were the first, let's see, it was Cannonsburg, who was the first to carry Narcan. 2 days after they carried it, and that's another story, I got a phone call that they saved a 15-year police department. Out of those 18 overdoses, and there were more, we didn't know about that. That wasn't necessarily reported all over the news. At least 3 of those people that were saved by police officers. I actually have a letter from a police officer that made us save just after that. It was another part of the big news. And all he said was, I'm 25, I'm a new police officer, but we need to all have this. This was no big deal. No big deal. This is coming into an opportunity to save lives, and I'm going to do it. Where my people that I work with don't want it because they're 50 years old and they don't understand the epidemic. What we just did here tonight as a group, we came together and said we are going to commit ourselves to learn about the disease of addiction, because it's the disease of addiction that is driving this, and it is funding so much money to go into the pockets of people. The people that make Vicodin, I can't remember the name, it's like ad something. Just their CEO alone this year made $17 million plus. Okay? There are people that are making OxyContin. If you want to see how they live, good luck. Because you won't even get close to the size of their property. You won't even get near their rights. They live better than Queen Elizabeth. Think it over. Lock up your medicines, educate your kids, and this young lady is here that is in the school district. Start bringing the real issue to these kids. Don't sugarcoat it. Let's not stand there like they did for years with DARE and create teddy bear situations. This is time to get real. These drugs are out there. Know what's in your kid's bedroom. You can go online for free and you can Google this stuff. What to look for. We had spoons missing from our house. We couldn't understand why we had dark areas of spoons and bed spoons. We were naive. We aren't anymore. We weren't after a few months figuring this out. That's what the internet is going to help you with. Find out what your kids have in their bedroom. Lock up your medications. If you're not going to use them, take them to a proper drop-off location. If you don't have one, make sure you do in your area. And let's do something to get these young ladies an Oxford House. You know that there are some rehabs out here, and this is something for camera. This is something I'm going to be in Pittsburgh for the hearings on Thursdays, the 15th. You can be there? Okay, well, that's okay. I'm going to be addressing this, and it's not really the right place, but I want you to think about something. If you have medical assistance or Obamacare, you can go to a rehab and be turned away even if there are detox beds, but they'll never let you know that. Make sure that your rehab and your CO is doing the proper thing, and they do it within the law, most likely. You guys know that we have had rehabs that are wonderful places, hold beds for people from Blue Cross Blue Shield because they pay a heck of a lot more. And my rehab was paid by my family because of my insurance up to $100,000 at least on a couple stays. So if you think for 1 minute that there's a bed open, you make sure you fight for that bed. I don't care what insurance you have.
We have one more speaker.
Hi, my name's Philomena Blaney. I've lived here in Greene County for about 35 years. I grew up in a family of Irish coal miners. I knew about alcohol. I went to college in the 70s, ran an apartment building, and I thought I knew a lot about drugs. This year, our family has buried the son of a cousin who was 23 years old. His brother is currently in rehab. I have heard in the last few months from my own grandchildren who go to Jefferson, Oregon, and the children of friends who go to Waynesburg and to West Greene, that in their schools, on their sports teams, these kids are sophomores, freshmen, juniors, and they have been not only solicited to use drugs, but to run drugs. The barbarian is at the gate, and my heart goes out to the people that are in this fight right now, because I guess I'm getting educated on it, not that I want this education at all. And I appreciate so much the professionals that are here tonight. I mean, you are so much more experienced than I will ever be, or certainly hope to be, on these issues. But pardon me for being mission-oriented, but I want to know what is the plan. And I want to know that we have a plan. And I want to know that it's not just great, but a group of ideas, but I want to know what we are going to do to develop a comprehensive plan for our county that provides for our children who thus far have not been caught in this horrific trap. How are we going to keep them out of it going forward? And I've heard a lot of things from different people. It seems to me that it involves education. It seems to me that it involves us as parents and grandparents having a better understanding of what do we do, what do we need to know. And Mr. Cipoletti, I appreciate so much the specifics that you provided, and each of the rest of you for the things that you provided. But I really believe that it's great to talk about it. I guess I'm a little linear, but I'm hoping that what we're going to hear next is what the plan is.
Before we conclude tonight's town hall meeting, we are going to hear some comments from Robert Terry. He is from the Oxford House, and he has some things to say.
I'm actually from a non-profit in town called Steps Inside. Steps Inside has been around for 13 years. Its mission is recovery. Steps Inside was the non-profit that started Oxford House. I want to say tonight is we're moving the ball in the other direction. What you've been through tonight is hope. This is furthering the hope. In the disease that we see, first you admit the problem, you come to believe there's a solution, and then you decide to do so. That's the first 3 steps of all our fellowships. someplace, he's the type of man that said, yes, have it at my place. Secretary's gonna come in every time, we'll have a bigger place. You know, this continues. We meet every week, and with, we've been working at this live, I and the rest of our committee, we've worked at this for over 2 years now, and we're not stopping. We meet every week. So there's hope, and I'm glad you all came out. Thank you.
Before you conclude, I just want to say, I want to be the first one to volunteer here tonight. And if anybody needs somebody to talk to the kids at school, be a mentor or whatever, I'll volunteer to do that.
Philomena P.H.
I volunteer too. Tell me what to do. I just need to know
724.
P-H-I-L-O-M-E.
Don't want to get it wrong. Where's my corporate reporter when I need it? You know how to find us. And yet, you know, in closing, talk about the talk. You know that great movie, Talk About the Talk. It is the place we need to start. In this courtroom, in our communities, in our families. Greg, do you have anything you want to close with? Thank you. Sergeant? No, do you, Chris? Well, now, Craig, you get a chance. I mean, they say they're going to take down Nathaniel Green off of the fuselage, but you're bigger up there. I don't know. I'm trying to see the way to best answer your question. And the thing that you said is you're a very linear person. The problem with this is it's not a linear solution. There is no organizing greater drug oversight committee that has this. It has to be all of these, it has to be forums like this, it has to be education, learning all these resources among ourselves. This isn't something that we can push off onto a panel. This is something that each one of us have to take responsibility for, educate ourselves, and work toward that. And we have to have all these people working together. I think part of what we're trying to do as a community is bring forums like this so people not enough, people in one, we all know each other. We all work with each other every day. The problem is, for lots of folks out there, we're not aware of it. So we all need, from our entities, to do a better job and work with schools. You're right. Just one thing that you can look at, again, is using the internet for this. One of the other things you have to do is you have to start looking for scientific solutions to this. And they're what are called evidence-based programs. And you can go online, and there are research programs that you can provide in schools that are shown to do good things. There are lots of ideas that people have. The most common thing that I get from parents is, hey, my kid's doing thus and such. Can you put him in a boot camp? Boot camps are terrible for kids. You know, when you lock people with other criminals, they learn more criminal behavior. You have to be very careful in the types of programs that we have. You can't scare kids out of this. Let me tell you what, I've never met a drug addict that didn't know that heroin was dangerous. You know, that's part of the allure that it has to know. So I wish I could give you an easy answer. We all have to do this.
I'm not looking for an easy answer, but I'm looking for us to join forces
Yes.
with all the intellect and the experience and everything that is here. There has got to be something better than saying, okay, you heard, this, and now go home and good luck to you.
No,
There
no,
has to be
you're
something
right.
more than that, and I believe that, this showing up of people is saying to you, we need that help. That's what we came here for. And I'm asking you. Good luck saving your grandkids and making sure that they're not struggling like these folks who have talked to us here tonight are struggling 10 years from now. I heard a kid here
comfortable place for people to stand up and say, I'm struggling with this addiction, or that I'm 30 days clean, and they should receive the applause that they received today.
My wife and I, we have no computer. We did have, she got her identity stolen.
Okay?
That's not funny. So, we turn right around and go to the state police. Well, nothing you can do about it, but Mr. Louis, in a half-hour time, so we go back to the police and say we want the guy prosecuted. So excuse my language, but she says this is a bunch of BS, you know. He puts her. And
that's what he's trying to say. When we try to do this, then we are innocent that we get punished. That's what a lot of these children are like. Needs to be something done. And I agree that, well, the state here said that they take it to the I think a lot of this is started when they are out of the schools.
Okay, we need to continue on here.
I guess the only thing I'm aware of right now is the fact that we need to harness this energy, and I think that's what this woman is saying. We need to take this and move it forward. We don't have that energy. We have to make sure we set another meeting. We need to set a time and make this happen again, because the number of people here is just outstanding.
Yes.
I've spoken at schools before, and I've spoken to teachers in service. If you invite me, I'll come. There's five county schools. I'm more than happy to try to get each one of them.
Yeah, let me just say, we see some folks here who are mad. You should be mad. You know, let me tell you, when I take Alexis off a drug dealer, I get mad too. When I take $1 million off a drug dealer, done it, I get mad. Okay? And we should be mad. Because if you see what's going on in the community, it would make you mad, and it does make you mad. So there's nothing wrong with that, because you know what? When you're mad, you're going to get some action. And you know what? We've heard some people in the community tonight who really care about the children. And you know, that's where it's going to start. We need to be mad enough that we're willing to be honest with our children, that we send the right message. We need to be mad enough that we force our government officials to make the right decisions, do the right things, and really attack the problem head on. You know, I get mad when I see us spending more money for parks and recreation than they do for law enforcement. It makes me mad. I'm a budget guy, I'm a financial guy. It should make me mad. It should make you mad too. How are we going to get some action? Stay mad.
I have a question. What do you do with the money?
We're not going to control it. We get people back in where they can control their children when they're young.
Give me a chance to form a closing to the meeting, and we'll stay here till midnight if we need to. But let me get through what was planned. Jeff?
Treatment, treatment, treatment. Needs more treatment. I heard Director Dennis speak a while back, and he said, you know, with a 21-day treatment, we need to be doing more for treatment. I know that they're looking for more of a budget for treatment, so please, you know, just keep that note up. Take this message back to the people that you know, and keep this going.
Well, I am so proud to be a part of this community and be a part of this forum here. I think this is awesome, and like they said, the energy in this room is amazing. I definitely want to continue to be involved with preventative services and community outreach and outreach to the schools, definitely. That's part of what we do at the Care Center. I want to continue with that and the collaboration that we have with Greene County Human Services and with our judicial system. I want to continue that. Thank you so much.
Being from the treatment end of things, one of the things that I've heard over and over and over, everybody that spoke that was in recovery, was we had to start with them.
like to thank everybody for listening to our story. Hear the treatment thing. We went through a lot of treatment. I was glad to hear the senator say they're working on extended treatment. That in my books, if we would have had the education and the children would have known about it or would have been educated on it in the first place, you know, maybe my wife and I would have went through the grief we did in elementary. Our 9-year-old grandson, he's seen his mother use, he's seen his aunt use, he knows what heroin looks like, he knows more than most adults know about that. But we've talked to him, he said there's no way. You know, I'm sure his dad, who was a recovering addict, would be very glad to come to school and talk to people. He goes to different places, halfway houses, and that's what he accredits for saving his life. You know, he lost his wife to it. He said if it wasn't for the halfway house, he spent 2 years there to get his life straightened out. He don't think he would be here either. And just something I forgot to mention is completely different out of text, but our youngest daughter, Ashley, is getting married Saturday.
There's solutions here. We just got to keep fighting, like Steve just said, and stay angry, I think, and know that we all have a part in it, and we can stay here till midnight. I don't know if it'll be that quick, but you know, the reason I got involved with the Oxford House, and this is not a commercial, because it's cheaper to live there than in an apartment. It's not a corporation, it's a house. We have a landlord, $400 a month. You can live there for 10 years, 5 years, 1 month, 6 years. It don't matter. It's all about people in recovery living together. That's the only reason it's there. It's not a corporate thing and anything like that. So it's about keeping the fire alive to help one another. You know, it's about talking at home, because no matter what we do here tonight, if at home you're weak like I was with my kid for a while, and what goes on behind closed doors isn't seen, and you don't want to quite tell the teacher or the neighbor or the social worker that you need help, you know? So do we nip it in the bud there? Do we give them more on this end? I think we got to tackle all areas, but we're here fighting for a way out. And you know, the main thing is it's not a friggin' secret anymore. You know, but we can let it become a secret again if we make that mistake. So I understand your anger, and I will gladly come and talk to kids in school. And I know hundreds of people in recovery, and I can get a bunch of them to come, and I will make you that commitment in front of everybody here, and I will do it, because that's what worked for me.
So in closing, we're trying to close, but continue. This court's going to remain in recess, and we're not going to adjourn, okay? And yet, I did find a quote from a Methodist preacher that was written the year this building was built that I thought was appropriate to close. It was Reverend Gore. The truth is, human life needs to be dotted over with occasions of stirring interest. The journey asks its milestones, or rather, if you please, its watering places along the way. Our nature requires the reoccurrence now and then of something of special interest, something that shall peer up from the dead level of existence, an object of hope to rest upon in the future, an oasis in the desert of the remembered past. Well, let us close this meeting, but open our minds and open our community and open our relationships. And may the final judge of us all, who can go with you and remain with me, give us sufficiently of his wisdom, strength, and courage, that in the last accounting of all of our deeds, he may say to each of us, well done, good and faithful servant. And so, stay if you wish, but on we go. 3 taps of the gavel. Please stay if you can. Thank you all very much.